Sorry, but my girlfriend, 20 years younger, is pregnant. I prefer younger women, so let's get a divorce. That's fine, right? Divorcing is fine, but please take care of our son. What? Take the son, too. Weren't you so fond of him? No way, because that child is. I stopped speaking there. If it's just a conversation between us, there's no problem. But this conversation must also be heard by Abel, who is in the room. What would he think if he heard this? That's my only worry. However, if I don't speak up now, this man won't understand the gravity of the situation. It's too convenient for him to destroy our happiness and then find happiness himself. I won't allow it. Just like our happiness was taken away, I want to take away this man's happiness. Driven by these thoughts, I decided to confront Morgan with a shocking truth. My name is Camelia Whistler, 41 years old. I live with my husband, Morgan, and our 12-year-old son, Abel. I married Morgan 13 years ago when I was 28. Back then, I worked as an insurance agent. I visited various companies to sell insurance. During this time, I met Morgan. Morgan worked at a local import company and had just divorced his wife. She cheated on me and left me. Now it's just my 5-year-old son and me, living a lonely life. Morgan said this, looking down sadly. Whenever I visited Morgan's company for work, I made a point to talk to him. Eventually, Morgan asked me out. However, we never went out alone. Morgan always brought his son Abel. He can't be left alone, right? I wish you could be his new mother, but you probably don't want to marry a man with a child, right? Seeing him like this made me think. He truly cares about his child. Someone who cares for their child like this will surely care for their family. So I decided to marry Morgan. But it was all an act to marry me. In fact, as soon as we married, everything changed. I quit my job to focus on housework. All the housework and childcare became my responsibility. That wasn't the problem, but Morgan started neglecting Abel. Before marriage, he brought Abel on our dates, but after marriage, he neglected him. Morgan never spoke to Abel on weekends or weekdays. He stopped doing things like taking him out or playing with him. Even when Abel started elementary school, Morgan's attitude didn't change. I attended the entrance ceremony alone, and he ignored school events. I wish you'd participate in Abel's school events. When I said this, Morgan frowned. Then, sighing in annoyance, I'm tired from work. But, you're annoying. Taking care of the son is the mother's job. Do it properly. He would end the conversation like this, yelling. Where did the man I married go? I regretted it a little. Then, one day, Abel, who had come back from elementary school, was helping me prepare dinner. I received an email from Morgan. Oh, what? You're bringing your subordinates home? It looks like he's going to bring some of his subordinates home. Morgan had just been promoted to section chief. He probably wanted to build relationships with his new subordinates. What should I do? I don't have enough ingredients. They'll probably drink at home, so I needed to prepare food. It's only an hour's drive from the company to home. I decided to go to the nearby supermarket to buy ingredients. When I got home, I started cooking in a hurry. I'll help you. Oh, thank you. Then please prepare the plates. We prepared diligently, but there were limits. Morgan returned home when about half the preparation was done. I'm home! Hey, I brought my colleagues! Morgan shouted from the entrance. I greeted them briefly and guided them to the living room. Then I served the drinks and appetizers. While thinking about the next dish, Morgan came into the kitchen and asked me, Hey, how's the food coming? It's in progress. There are appetizers, so it should be fine. What were you doing? I gave you a heads up. If you had told me earlier... Shut up! You should be able to do this. I'll be embarrassed. I was yelled at and left speechless. Of course, I have many things I want to argue about. But the voice in the kitchen can be heard in the living room. The guests must be feeling uncomfortable. Thinking this, I couldn't talk back. In the end, I silently dealt with the guests. After the guests left, I had a huge fight with Morgan. I was furious with Morgan for yelling at me just for his convenience. Then Morgan said resentfully, like a child, "Fine, from now on, I'll drink at the bar. Happy now?" After that, Morgan started going out frequently. He began spending money recklessly and leaving the house quickly on weekends. By that time, Abel had become a middle school student, and expenses like school fees started to increase. So I discussed with Morgan about starting a part-time job. Part-time? What, you want money to play around? No, it's for things like Abel's school fees. Oh, is that so? Do whatever you want. Morgan seemed drunk and responded carelessly, but at least I got his consent. So I started working part-time, as an insurance agent. I asked my former boss to hire me as a part-time employee. This will make things a bit easier. Still, Morgan complained, so I couldn't neglect housework. I had limited working hours and had to prepare dinner before Morgan returned. I managed my time well and continued working. Then one day, I got delayed at work. I rushed home, but Morgan had already returned. As soon as he saw me, Morgan asked angrily, "Where have you been?" "Working, of course." "Working? Were you cheating on me?" Morgan looked at me suspiciously. "That's ridiculous." I denied it, but Morgan still looked at me doubtfully. What should I do? When suddenly, Morgan reached for my mobile phone. "Let me see. I'll check for any men's names." "Stop it." "Shut up!" Morgan forcefully took my mobile phone and started checking the contacts. He quickly found my boss's name. "Hey, who's this? A man's name, right?" "That's my boss." "He's your lover, I see." Morgan immediately called my boss. "Stop it!" "Be quiet!" Eventually, the misunderstanding was cleared up. Of course, I apologized to my boss many times. I told Morgan to apologize too, but he just looked away. "It's your fault for causing such a misunderstanding." He kept repeating that. Since then, our relationship has only become more strained. It didn't change even when Abel became a high school student. Is this really okay? I thought so, but I couldn't find a way to improve our relationship. While I was worried, Abel became a senior in high school. Lately, Morgan and I have completely fallen out. We don't even argue at home anymore. So it doesn't interfere with Abel's study for exams. It's okay to stay like this until Abel's exams are over. I thought so. Then, one day, I had to go near Morgan's company for work. If we were on good terms, I would have invited him for a meal. As I muttered this, I saw Morgan's car stopped at an intersection. Morgan? And who? I squinted and saw two people talking happily. At that moment, the word affair crossed my mind. He suspects me of cheating and then cheats himself? What is this? I was so dismayed I couldn't say anything. I secretly took a photo of the two and brought it to a detective agency for an investigation into Morgan's conduct. I don't need to see the results to know. That thought crossed my mind. Of course, I decided to divorce, but evidence is important for any action. So, I waited for the results of the investigation. About a month later, the investigation results came, and the affair was confirmed. Really, what a joke. I'm not satisfied with just divorcing. How should I get back at him? I thought about this on a certain day off. Morgan, who was supposed to be out, returned home early. He came straight to me. "Sorry, but my girlfriend 20 years younger is pregnant." Huh? I doubted my ears, but Morgan, with a faint smile, said, "So my girlfriend, 20 years younger, is pregnant. I prefer younger women, so let's get a divorce. That's fine, right?" To confess to cheating so blatantly is astonishing, but this is an opportunity. Thinking this, I decided to make the most of this chance. "Divorcing is fine, but please take care of our son." I said this with a smile, and Morgan was shocked. What? Take the son too. Weren't you so fond of him? No way. Because that child is... I chose my words carefully. This conversation must be heard by Abel, who was studying for exams. What would he think if he heard this? That's my only worry. However, if I don't speak up now, this man won't understand the gravity of the situation. He's destroyed our happiness and now wants to be happy himself. I won't allow it. Just like our happiness was taken away, I want to take away this man's happiness. Driven by these thoughts, I decided to confront Morgan with a shocking truth. Sorry, but Abel is your son, not mine. What are you talking about? We're a married couple. Our child is both of ours. Morgan said this with a smug look. At that moment, I was dumbfounded. Is this man stupid? He's lived 4 years longer than me and still knows nothing. I was too astounded to speak. Surprised by his ignorance, I sighed and told Morgan the truth. Abel is the child of you and your ex-wife, right? So what? That means Abel is a stepchild to me. To make a stepchild my own, adoption is necessary. Adoption? Morgan frowned. Legally, a stepchild remains a stepchild. To become a true parent, you have to adopt the child. Otherwise, you can't have parental rights or legally recognize them as your child. Of course, in society, they may be seen as parent and child, but there's no legal binding. Parents have no obligation to provide support, and children have no right to inherit. I didn't adopt Abel when I married you, so I can't take him with me. Wait a minute. So I have to take care of Abel? That's how it is. You can't be charged with child abandonment just because you neglected him. Abel is still in high school. His parents have an obligation to raise him, meaning Morgan can't just abandon him. Morgan, stunned, pleaded with me. Please, that won't work. What won't? I have a child coming. I'm divorcing you to live with the newborn and my girlfriend, Dina. That's my condition for marrying her. So, the other woman's name is Dina. So, that's not my concern. It is! Just say you'll take Abel and it's settled. I already said it's impossible. Please, don't ruin my happiness. Morgan begged. Don't ruin his happiness? What a joke. He destroyed our happiness and now wants his own. I clenched my lips and told Morgan, no matter what you say, it's impossible. Ask your girlfriend Dina. You're really heartless. Fine, I'll make you regret this. Morgan slammed the table and stood up. Then he grabbed his mobile phone and left the room. I watched him go, and Morgan started making a call in the hallway. So, yes, that's right. Then I heard his voice. Eventually, Morgan returned and said to me, wait here. I'm bringing Dina. What? You're bringing her here? Of course. You won't agree otherwise, Morgan yelled, seemingly unaware of his own fault. Since we have to discuss divorce compensation anyway, it might save time. With that thought, I quietly watched Morgan leave. About an hour after Morgan left, Morgan returned with a woman. When I glanced at the woman, she greeted me with a displeased face. Hello, nice to meet you. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I can understand her feelings. Meeting the wife of her lover's affair is never pleasant. Putting that aside, Dina was the woman in Morgan's car that day. I can't help thinking it's because of this woman. But thanks to her, I can bring Morgan down. As I thought this, a smile naturally spread across my face. How should I start the conversation? While pondering this, Dina spoke first. You're Camellia, right? Don't you love your child? You've been living together for 13 years. Are you talking about Abel? Of course I love him. I think of him as my own child. Then why are you abandoning him? You should take him with you. I looked at Dina for a moment. Sweat was beading on her forehead. As I thought. She seems to be accusing me, but that's not really the case. I remember the results of Morgan's conduct investigation. If what's written about Dina's situation is true, her insistence makes sense. So I decided to shake things up a bit. I would like to take him with me, but no matter how much I love him, legally, only Morgan is Abel's parent. I can't be Abel's parent. But, yes, so another option is not getting divorced, though I would claim compensation from Dina. As I smiled, Dina was shocked. Then she looked at Morgan. Morgan, I can't pay compensation. Don't worry, I'll cover it, and I will definitely divorce and be with you. As Morgan said this, I interrupted. What are you talking about? We haven't decided to divorce yet. Shut up! I'm definitely divorcing. Then you're taking Abel with you? That's what we need to discuss now. The conversation isn't progressing. Dina, what do you think? I turned the conversation to Dina. Then Dina, looking displeased. I absolutely can't raise someone else's child. It's disgusting. Even if it's the child of the person you love? Of course, I love Morgan, not some unknown woman's child. Oh, really? But isn't that a strange argument? Why? You don't want to raise someone else's child, that's fine. But you're okay with Morgan raising another man's child? As I said this, Dina's face suddenly turned pale. Morgan tilted his head in confusion. What are you talking about? About the child? Dina's unborn child. This child is mine. I already said so. Sure, you said that. But it's weird. According to my investigation, the father of Dina's child is another man. As I said this, Morgan turned to Dina. Dina looked down, pale-faced, and Morgan stared at her. I almost burst into laughter at the scene. Then, Morgan confronted Dina. Is that true? What do you mean? About the father of the child. Don't be silly. The father of this child is Morgan. Dina banged on the table in protest. But I calmly countered, That's not true. Here's the proof. I placed a photo on the table. It was a photo from the conduct investigation. The photo showed Dina talking with an unknown man in front of a gynecologist's office. According to the investigation, you have a boyfriend. That child in your belly is his, right? That... Dina stammered and became speechless. Seeing this, Morgan realized everything and lost his composure. So, divorce me and raise the child together. But Morgan, you'll be raising another man's child. Dina, you're okay with that, right? Oh, that's it. Don't forget about Abel. Wait! Let's start over. If I break up with this woman, we don't have to divorce, right? What? How convenient for you. I was planning to divorce anyway. This is lucky. Plus, since you admitted to cheating, I'll demand a lot of compensation from both of you. As I said this, I slammed the evidence of their affair on the table. Photos of their affair spread across the table. Of course, there were also photos of Dina with the unknown man. Morgan grabbed one of the photos and yelled at Dina. You lying woman! You ruined everything! That's my line. If you think about it, it's obvious. I prefer younger men. I thought I could just take the money and leave if I had to take the child. Morgan and Dina suddenly started arguing with each other. Astonished, I told Morgan and his group, Fight amongst yourselves! And kicked them out of the house. After that, I headed to Abel's room. I knocked on the door and Abel came out. Sorry, you heard the conversation, didn't you? Well, yeah, but it's Dad's fault, not yours, Mom. But still, really, I'm fine. I'll be a college student next year. I'll make Dad pay for the moving expenses, and then I'll handle the rest. Abel smiled. It seemed he was more mature than I thought. I was relieved to see my son's growth. However, his father, Morgan, had not grown at all. He wouldn't answer my calls no matter how much I tried to contact him. Even after several days, the situation didn't change. We couldn't proceed with the divorce discussions. With no sign of him returning home, I decided to go to Morgan's company. I didn't want to barge in unannounced and cause trouble. So I contacted Thompson, Morgan's superior, before heading there. Upon arriving at the company, Mr. Thompson, the executive, promptly attended to me and called Morgan to his office. Dina was also summoned. I spoke to Morgan. You know why I'm here, don't you? What now? You're not responding to the divorce discussions. How long do you plan to ignore this? I said firmly, and Morgan shrugged his shoulders. Then, looking at Dina, I have something to say to you, too. Since you've been ignoring me, I've decided on the compensation amount myself. The compensation for the affair is $20,000. Please take care of it. $20,000? Impossible! I can't pay that. Impossible? But you have to. If you refuse, it'll just go to court. Court? If it goes to court, your boyfriend will find out about the affair, though I suppose he already knows by now. I smiled and Dina looked downcast. Apparently, Dina's real boyfriend also worked at this company, so it was only a matter of time before her affair was discovered. Eventually, Dina accepted my demand. Morgan resisted until the end, but after being persuaded by the executive, he agreed to pay the compensation. Well, I'll be leaving then. As I got up to leave, Morgan complained to me. Coming to my company like this? Are you kidding me? What if this ruins my reputation? It's your fault, not mine. Besides, an affair won't get you fired. In fact, an affair is not a reason for dismissal. However, how it would affect him at work, and how comfortable he would feel there, wasn't certain. But that's not my concern. I came to get him to agree to the divorce discussions. If Morgan ended up leaving the company because of this, that's not my problem. The same went for Dina. Good luck then, I said to Morgan and Dina and left the company. Afterward, through my lawyer, I was able to receive compensation from both of them. But according to Mr. Thompson, there were problems. After I left his office, the story of their affair quickly spread throughout the company. Naturally, Dina's boyfriend heard about it. They argued, and he broke up with her on the spot. Enraged at being dumped, Dina demanded compensation from Morgan. Of course, Morgan refused. It eventually led to a court case. Furthermore, due to the affair becoming public and the lawsuit, both ended up leaving the company. Morgan struggled to find another job due to his age. Now he seems to be working at a convenience store. Dina, being pregnant, apparently retreated to her parents' home. Until the court case is settled, I expect their lives to be uncomfortable. As for me, everything's going smoothly. I was even offered a full-time position by my boss. Thanks to that, I'm now working full-time again. My relationship with Abel, who is working hard on his exams, is also good. He even said, I've got a girlfriend, I want you to meet her. Even though I'm not your mother anymore? When I asked this, Abel said, Legally, Dad might be the parent, but I respect you more as a parent, Mom. Now I'm just waiting for my son's successful exam results.